Scientists have just discovered surprising secrets from Otzi's ancient DNA, revealing that he looked very different from what we thought. How did Otzi actually look, and what secrets did his DNA reveal? How will these revelations turn the page on our understanding of human history? Put aside the image of the fair-skinned, hairy person you saw in the museum. Otzi actually had darker skin, dark eyes, and was probably bald. Stick around to find out all the amazing details that are leaving experts stunned. But before we dive into Otzi the Iceman's amazing secrets, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. You won't want to miss any of our exciting content.
So after our first macroscopic and microscopic analysis of the stomach material here at the Europe Institute of Mummies and the Iceman, we made the major further step in this study. So we extracted the complete DNA and we fished out, by using a modern technique, all Helicobacter sequences out of this material. And by doing this, we could reconstruct the whole ancient, complete bacterial genome of Helicobacter pylori, of the ice.
Scientists believe that he died over 5,000 years ago, and he is the oldest intact human mummy ever found. Otzi, a genuine artifact from ancient times, has remained frozen in time for thousands of years. But there's something amazing going on beneath his cold exterior. Thanks to cutting-edge research and the power of DNA, his ancient body is revealing secrets that are rewriting history, leaving scientists completely stunned.
World's first replica of Otzi the Iceman.
In the heart of the Alps, frozen in time for millennia, lay Otzi the Iceman, a relic of ancient history, but beneath the icy surface of this millennia-old corpse.
Advances in DNA technology have allowed scientists to reconstruct his true appearance.
We use a laser to trace out cross-sections of Otzi, and under UV light, the polymer starts to harden. Once it solidifies, just a few seconds, a very thin layer is positioned on top of it. The laser hardens it out again, and this way the model is built layer.
In September 1991, two German visitors, Helmut and Erika Simon, made a remarkable find high in the Ötztal Alps, spanning the boundary between Austria and Italy. This finding signaled the start of an incredible expedition into the past. Frank Meixner is a microbiologist from the Institute for Mummies and the Iceman at Urark Research in Italy. He's a key member of the team deciphering Otzi's secrets. Ever since his discovery, Otzi, named after the Ötztal region where he was discovered, has become a symbol representing both the enduring power of nature's preservation and ancient history. Situated 3,120 meters above sea level on the east ridge of the Finalspitze, they stumbled upon what appeared to be a fallen mountaineer. Little did they realize they'd encountered something far more ancient and extraordinary: Otzi the Iceman, a natural mummy frozen in time. Despite their initial confusion, the Simons soon recognized the significance of their find. The next day, a courageous mountain guide and the custodian of the neighboring Similone hut arrived at the scene in an attempt to conduct a rescue operation. As they attempted to remove Otzi from the ice with ice axes and pneumatic drills, they encountered daunting challenges. Unfortunately, bad weather thwarted their first rescue attempts. The amazing find quickly spread like wildfire in the news, catching the interest of mountaineering icons like Hans Kammerlander and Reinhold Messner. The isolated location quickly attracted inquisitive travelers and scholars hoping to solve the riddles of Otzi's prehistoric life. On September 22nd, they carefully removed Otzi's body from its cold tomb and took it to the medical examiner's office in Innsbruck the following day.
It was thousands of years old. The find causes a worldwide sensation. The press dubs him the Iceman, or Otzi, after the Ötztal Mountains where he died. Eventually, carbon dating confirms that Otzi died 5,300 years ago. His were the oldest intact human remains ever recovered.
On September 24th, the University of Innsbruck archaeologist Konrad Spindler was in charge of analyzing the discovery.
To draw our attention like a magnet is that copper axe. It's so intriguing.
Based on the type of axes found near Otzi, Spindler calculated that the find dated back to at least 4,000 years. Several scientific organizations carried out additional tests on tissue samples taken from Otzi's corpse and related materials. The world was stunned to learn that Otzi lived roughly 5,000 years ago, between 3,359 and 3501 BC, according to the conclusive evidence. Unveiling Otzi's anatomy involved a thorough investigation that included measurements, X-rays, and advanced dating techniques. The most recent research indicates that Otzi was roughly 45 years old, 160 centimeters tall, and weighed 50 kilograms when he passed away. The ice that preserved Otzi soon after his death slowed down the process of decay, and when first found, Otzi's preserved body weighed around 13.75 kilos. Initial reports suggested that parts of his genitalia were missing, but further investigation disproved this claim. Research on pollen, dust grains, and the isotopic composition of his tooth enamel indicates that Otzi was raised in the area of the modern-day Feldhorn settlement. This area is located north of Bolzano in South Tyrol. However, later in life, he moved to a valley about 50 kilometers further north. A computerized tomography scan revealed that Otzi's stomach had shifted higher to the normal location of his lower lung area. Analyzing the contents of the stomach revealed half-digested ibex meat, confirmed through DNA testing. This implies that Otzi had eaten a meal no more than 2 hours prior to his death. There were also wheat grains found in his stomach. It is thought that Otzi's last meal likely consisted of dried fatty meat from a wild goat native to South Tyrol, Italy. Further analysis of Otzi's intestinal content revealed that he had eaten 2 different meals. One consisted of sheep meat, while the other included red deer meat and herb bread, both accompanied by roots and fruits. The grain found within these meals was identified as highly processed einkorn wheat, possibly in the form of bread. Near his body, researchers found remnants of Otzi's provisions, including chaff and grains of einkorn and barley, flax and poppy seeds, kernels of sloes, and numerous wild berries. Hair analysis provided information on Otzi's diet from a few months before his death. The pollen found in his first meal suggested that he dined in a forested area with tall trees. Other pollen hinted that he might have savored wheat and beans, likely grown by local people. Tiny grains from a hop hornbeam tree revealed that the pollen was incredibly fresh, estimated to be only 2 hours old when Otzi passed away. This places his last meal around spring or early summer. Researchers discovered high concentrations of arsenic and copper particles in Otzi's hair. This, along with his highly pure copper axe, raises the possibility that he was a copper smelter. Researchers also measured the dimensions of Otzi's pelvis and legs, concluding that Otzi likely spent considerable time walking over hilly terrain. This kind of extensive mobility was unusual for Copper Age people and might suggest a role as a shepherd, herding animals in high-altitude locations. The South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Italy produced a comprehensive model of Otzi's visage using cutting-edge 3D scanning technology. This model exhibits an appearance that defies his 45 years of age. Otzi's worn-out appearance, complete with a beard, deep brown eyes, and wrinkled forehead, perfectly conveys the harshness of his life in the ancient Alps. A noteworthy discovery regarding Otzi is that he had whipworm, an unpleasant gastrointestinal ailment. In addition, physicians looking at CT scans found cracks in several of his right side ribs. This damage was probably caused by him dying face down or by the ice gradually crushing his body. It's like piecing together the narrative of his life and death using clues from a CSI show, connecting the dots one by one. Otzi had unusual lines under one of his fingernails called Bose lines, which show that he had been sick 3 times in the 6 months before his death. His final illness, which lasted for roughly 2 weeks and struck around 2 months before he passed away, suggested that his health was not stable. Closer inspection revealed that Otzi's skin was lacking its outer covering, which is typical of bodies frozen in ice. His diet, high in grains and carbs, likely caused substantial dental wear and decay, leaving his teeth in poor condition. DNA tests revealed that Otzi was lactose intolerant, demonstrating that certain people were still unable to digest milk even back then. When doctors checked his lungs with a special tool, they found them blackened with soot. This means Otzi spent a lot of time near fires, staying warm and cooking his meals. Imagine his daily life thousands of years ago, constantly tending to fires and making food in a harsh, cold environment. If you're enjoying this fascinating look into Otzi's life, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible discoveries. Analyzing the historical Otzi's tattoo narratives is equally captivating. He has 61 tattoos in all, which are considered to be ancient body art. These tattoos consisted of 19 sets of black lines, ranging in length from small to finger length and in width from very thin to roughly the size of a grain of rice. Some of the tattoos formed lines that ran vertically and horizontally across his body, while others created crosses behind his knee and on his ankle. There were also lines that circled his wrist. His legs, with their 12 sets of lines, were the actual focal point of this tattoo party. Scientists found something intriguing about the ink when they looked more attentively at these tattoos. Otzi received his tattoos using antiquated homemade ink made from soot or fireplace ash, not fancy materials from the store. The technique used to apply these tattoos was quite different from modern methods. Instead of using needles, they made small cuts or poked tiny holes in his skin and then rubbed the ink in. Some analysts believe that because the majority of Otzi's tattoos were extremely dark, he needed touch-ups. It's as though he had a personal vintage tattoo artist who constantly applied new ink. Upon employing specialized machines to analyze Otzi's bones, medical professionals discovered evidence of wear and tear, especially in regions where he had tattoos, such as his lower back and knees. It's as if his body is telling a story. It's possible that this ancient tattooing technique served a therapeutic purpose. Experts speculate that these tattoos were carefully positioned on joints in other regions prone to pain and arthritis. They suggest this is an early type of pain management, similar to modern techniques like acupuncture or acupressure. Otzi, astonishingly, lived long before these techniques became popular in China, the place where they are often believed to have originated. He seemed to be ahead of his time. 19 of his tattoo groups were on major acupuncture lines in the body, and the remaining 19 were precisely where acupuncture needles are regularly inserted today. One could interpret his tattoos as a hidden map of the tender spots on his body. Perhaps the tattoos on his stomach provided relief from the discomfort caused by his severe stomach illness. Otzi appeared to be his own prehistoric physician, curing himself with tattoos. At first, Otzi's tattoos were very subtle and difficult to see. However, creative researchers employed sophisticated cameras that could identify various light wavelengths that were invisible to the human eye. All of Otzi's tattoos were visible thanks to these cameras, revealing a secret treasure of prehistoric body art. Otzi's genetic legacy reveals the ancient story encoded in his DNA, offering a captivating glimpse into his origins and connections to early European history. Scientists deciphered Otzi's complete genetic composition in 2012. It was like opening a book about his forefathers. They made even more progress by 2023, producing a highly detailed genetic code that had a notably lower amount of modern human DNA. According to research, Otzi's Y chromosomal DNA places him in a distinctive group known as GL91, which has ties to the region currently known as South Corsica. His maternally inherited mitochondrial DNA places him in the K1 group. However, he didn't cleanly fit into any of its subgroups. This revelation led to the creation of a brand new subgroup named K10 in honor of Otzi himself, akin to uncovering a previously unknown branch on his family tree. Additional genetic testing showed that Otzi's genetic composition is most similar to people from southern Europe, especially Sardinia and Corsica. This implies that thousands of years ago, he was a member of a huge migration of early farmers from Turkey to Europe. Thus, Otzi's genes hold valuable insights into the history of ancient Europe, helping to solve questions surrounding prehistoric migration and colonization. DNA testing revealed surprising information about Otzi's health and ancestry. His genetic testing revealed a high hereditary propensity for heart problems, and researchers also detected trace of Borrelia burgdorferi, a bacteria linked to Lyme disease. If confirmed, Otzi would be the first recorded individual to have Lyme disease, a medical mystery from the distant past. A more thorough investigation of Otzi's family tree in 2023 revealed that the majority of his ancestors were Turkish farmers, a group that was more common than any other in Europe at the time. It's interesting to note that they also discovered hunters as ancestors, but they notably found no evidence of the steppe herders, a group who came to Europe later in history. Rewriting history books, Otzi's genes show that his ancestors were genetically varied, combining European hunters with Turkish farmers during his lifetime. Scientists believe that Otzi's skin tone was probably darker than that of modern Europeans, yet not as dark as that of prehistoric hunters, based on his genetic profile. Otzi might have experienced hair loss and could have been prone to weight-related health issues like obesity, providing a glimpse into his appearance thousands of years ago. Scientists analyzed the DNA of over 3,700 men from Tyrol and found that a small percentage shared the same ancient family history as Otzi. This discovery offers the possibility of exchanging tales about their ancient ancestors, similar to discovering living relatives linked to a person who lived more than 5,000 years ago. It's like experiencing a real-life, millennium-spanning family reunion. Otzi's equipment and clothing from the prehistoric Alpine region were varied and useful. He had on a grass cloak, a leather coat, a belt, leggings, loincloth, shoes, and a variety of garments fashioned from various animal skins. His cap had a leather chin strap and was made of bearskin, with bottoms made of bearskin, deer-hide tops, and an inner netting of tree bark. Otzi's sturdy, waterproof boots were perfect for navigating through snowy conditions. He put cushiony grass inside the shoes to provide comfort, a function equal to that in modern stockings. His loincloth, belt, leggings, and coat were all painstakingly pieced together using leather strips and sinew. This demonstrates the inventiveness and age-old skills necessary for surviving in the harsh alpine climate. Otzi's belt held a pouch containing practical tools like a bone awl, scraper, drill, flint flake, and dried fungus. A Czech expert has rebuilt the shoes that Otzi wore, displaying their complexity and indicating that even around 5,300 years ago, there were craftsmen making shoes for others. A Czech business showed interest in purchasing the rights to market these rebuilt shoes due to their exceptional quality. British archaeologist Jackie Wood proposed a new theory about Otzi's footwear, stating that it resembled the top part of snowshoes. She believes that the frame and netting of one snowshoe, covered in animal hide to protect the foot, are missing from what was previously believed to be Otzi's rucksack. Otzi's hide coat and leather loincloth were made from sheepskin. The animals used to make these clothes were more closely related to modern European domestic sheep than wild ones, according to a genetic study that sheds light on the ancient techniques of making clothing and shoes. In fact, at least 4 sheepskins were used to make these products. It's interesting to note that a portion of the coat was made from domesticated goatskin that belonged to a mitochondrial haplogroup, which is a common female ancestor of modern Central Europe. The coat was made of skillfully stitched hides from 2 different species of animals. Otzi's leggings were similarly fashioned of leather from domesticated goats. Surprisingly, a 5,000-year-old pair of leggings found in Schneid, Switzerland, also had goat leather in their making. Researchers from Ireland and Italy analyzed the mitochondrial DNA from 6 pieces of Otzi's clothing and published their findings in the Journal of Scientific Reports. They discovered that the shoelaces were made from cattle from Europe. The fur hat belonged to a lineage of brown bears native to the area where Otzi lived. The quiver used to carry arrows was crafted from the skin of wild roe deer. Some of the items found with the Iceman included a knife with a flint blade and an ash handle, a quiver filled with 14 arrows made of dogwood and viburnum, and a copper axe. 12 of these arrows were incomplete, lacking tips, while 2 were damaged with flint tips and stabilizing fins called fletching. They were kept in a quiver with antler tools, possibly for sharpening arrowheads, an unknown tool, and what looks like a bowstring. The discovery also included an incomplete 1.82-meter-long yew wood longbow, berries, 2 birch bark baskets, and 2 kinds of leather string polypore mushrooms were among Otzi's possessions. It's possible that one of these mushrooms, called birch fungus, was utilized for its therapeutic qualities to treat parasites. The other kind was part of a complete fire-making kit that had pieces of more than a dozen different plants, pyrite and flint for sparking, and tinder for igniting fires. Otzi's copper axe was particularly interesting. The 60-centimeter handle, fashioned from finely carved yew wood, had a right-angled bend that led to the blade. The 9.5-centimeter-long, almost pure copper axe head was cast instead of mechanically hardened. Remarkably, a 2017 analysis found that the axe's copper came from southern Tuscany, even though copper ore deposits from the Alpine region were known to exist during Otzi's time. The axe head was firmly attached to the handle with birch tar and strong leather bindings. Use marks on the blade suggest that Otzi's people used it for everyday chopping and cutting operations. An axe like that would have been extremely expensive, representing the owner's status in addition to being a useful tool. A story of ancient tragedy. At first, it was believed that Otzi died from exposure after a severe winter storm, but subsequently rumors surfaced implying that he might have been the victim of a ceremonial sacrifice, possibly due to his elevated status as a chieftain. This concept drew inspiration from theories about other bodies discovered in peat bogs, such as the Tolland Man and the Lindo Man. CT and X-ray scans revealed an arrowhead embedded in Otzi's left shoulder at the time of his death, along with a small tear discovered on his clothing. Based on this finding, scientists believe that Otzi died from blood loss from the wound, a deadly wound even by modern medical standards.
Looks like the cause of death is an arrow. Interestingly, the shaft of the arrow that entered his shoulder wasn't found anywhere in the area.
Further investigation showed that the arrow's shaft had been removed before Otzi died. Upon closer inspection, his body showed symptoms of head trauma, wounds and bruises, indicating a violent battle before his death. Before his passing, a particularly deep cut that extended to the bone at the base of his thumb had not healed. According to experts, Otzi died from bleeding when the arrow broke through his shoulder blade, causing damage to important blood vessels and nerves before coming to rest close to his lung. This in-depth examination illuminates previously unknown details about the events leading up to Otzi's terrible demise and tells a tale of prehistoric brutality and survival. According to reports, Otzi's belongings included traces of blood from at least 4 other people. 2 were on an arrowhead found in his quiver, 1 was on his knife, and 1 was on his coat. DNA analysis revealed these findings. Archaeologist Alessandro Vanzetti and his colleagues at Sapienza University of Rome put forth an alternative proposal. They suggested that Otzi might have died at a lower altitude and was later buried higher up in the Alps. Their investigation focused on the objects discovered close to Otzi. They concluded that someone might have placed him above what seemed to be a stone burial mound. But over time, water pouring down the mountain could have relocated his body before it was refrozen with each round of melting. Archaeobotanist Klaus Oegel at the University of Innsbruck agrees that Otzi's remains may have moved due to a natural process, but he argues that there's insufficient proof to establish that the scattered stones formed a burial platform. Biological anthropologist Albert Zink adds another perspective, pointing out that there are no indications of bone displacement, which would happen if Otzi slipped downhill. The fact that the blood clots in his arrow wound are still there further indicates that his body wasn't relocated up the mountain after his death. The argument doesn't change the likelihood that Otzi met a violent end regardless of where he was buried. In a dim, remote lab, a group of scientists gather around a glowing screen, their eyes wide with curiosity. The air buzzes with excitement as they delve into the ancient secrets hidden in Otzi the Iceman's DNA, a relic from a long-lost time. As the sequencer hums to life, they discover astonishing truths. Otzi's genetic code reveals secrets that could rewrite history. The scientists are stunned by what they uncover, realizing that Otzi was not just an ancient traveler, but someone with incredible skills, crafting tools with precision beyond their wildest imaginations, a story that changed everything they thought they knew. His lineage originated from a lost tribe that differed significantly from any documented historical civilization. However, the discovery of a genetic marker associated with a rare form of immunity could be considered the most astonishing revelation. It appears that Otzi was resistant to illnesses that plagued those around him, a characteristic that may contain the secret to advancements in modern medicine. The scientists exchange excited glances as the implications of their discoveries begin to set in. What sparked their excitement? Stay tuned to find out. But before that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Once lost to the cold embrace of time, Otzi the Iceman's legacy would continue to unfold the mysteries of the past and shape the future of humanity. Do you know how ancient societies preserved their legacies and honored their departed? Let's delve into ancient burial rites and social dynamics. Can you believe that Otzi's gear wasn't just for survival, but for something more mysterious? Some experts suggest his tools might have been packed for a journey to the afterlife, not just for the mountains. This illuminates historical funeral customs and political strategies. This thought has led to a new interpretation of Otzi's story. This idea clarifies a number of puzzles, including the unusually preserved body, the missing arrows, and the hefty equipment that Otzi is said to have carried. It draws from social theory, but differs from the original research group's beliefs. Otzi has been through so much testing and analysis that he is now the most thoroughly studied mummy in the history of archaeology. Otzi's preservation is a natural wonder, in contrast to Egyptian mummies created by humans. Since its discovery, his extraordinarily well-preserved body has drawn a lot of attention, particularly in comparison to other bodies discovered in comparable frigid settings. Analyses of Otzi's tissues and skin show that he soon turned to ice after dying out from exposure to air. It's possible that this quick drying was done on purpose or accidentally. Different interpretations are supported by the evidence. Otzi either dried up where he was discovered or underwent some sort of ceremonial treatment before being buried at a high altitude. Otzi's body is currently on display at Bolzano in a unique freezing chamber. Otzi's finding offers unexpected new insights regarding Copper Age societies, going beyond how he was kept and buried. Examining his wounds, including the fatal arrow wound and the wound from a hand dagger, as well as any potential head trauma, points to a culture where fighting and the use of diverse weapons were common. Analyzing the pollen in his stomach reveals that Otzi traveled across different altitudes, consistent with a swift, small group attack style of combat. Otzi the Iceman's diet provides us with some insight into his way of life. He largely consumed grains and maybe cheese that came from a community, but he also maintained a close relationship with the wild and perhaps sacred mountains. His clothes were made from more goat and sheepskin. His last meal came from hunted ibex and deer, wild creatures whose skins he also used for other pieces of his outfit. He wore a hat made from bearskin, demonstrating his strong connection to the wild. Otzi's remarkable arsenal included a dagger, axe, bow, and arrows, as well as tools and an intricate marble bead, suggesting that he was a leader of his era. The quality of his clothing, which was astonishingly well preserved, is what's really fascinating. The painstakingly selected and assembled animal skins, each with a different color, demonstrate the remarkable attention to detail that went into his clothing. This implies that he has given his role and identity some serious thought. His coat and belt, styled like the grand stone monuments of the Alpine Copper Age, portrayed mighty gods and ancestors with weapons. This hints that Otzi might have held significant leadership in his tribe. In contrast, the later stone markers appear to honor more mysterious and sacred ancestral figures. It's possible that as societies evolved, power shifted from individual leaders to organized political systems, revealing Alpine mysteries. Was the finding of Otzi a unique event? Not as dramatic as Otzi's discovery, but important artifacts from the same age have turned up in similar high-altitude Alpine locations. These finds include arrowheads, daggers, and axes. According to some researchers, these objects may have been part of a secret stash or dropped by passing shepherds or travelers. However, another high-altitude Alpine pass, known as the Schneide Pass, shares similarities with Otzi's discovery site. In that location, anthropologists found remnants of footwear, a wooden bow, a quiver containing arrows, and pieces of clothing. Radiocarbon dating indicates that these items date back to the period between the early 3rd millennium BCE and the 2nd millennium BCE. This ongoing investigation provides a deeper understanding of ancient Alpine life and the eternal mysteries of Otzi's world. No bodies have been located, but discoveries in high-altitude Alpine regions suggest the existence of collapsed tombs similar to Otzi's discovery. This indicates that Otzi's case may not be as unique as previously thought. Alpine mythology passed down through the ages suggests that ice played a crucial role in preserving bodies and burials from the Copper and Bronze Ages. These discoveries were gradually revealed as the climate warmed. One legend, documented by a historian in 1862, likely recounts tales of Bronze Age tombs observed in these high-altitude regions. It's believed that a common burial custom included placing long copper pins with the deceased. This practice of preservation in ice might have inspired the portrayal of ancient figures in traditional outdoor shrines in the region. The discovery of preserved bodies like Otzi's emerging from the ice could have influenced the depiction of these figures, often portrayed with dark skin and skeletal features, in traditional outdoor shrines in the region. Thanks for watching! If you found Otzi's new secrets as mind-blowing as we did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content. See you in the next video!